Welcome everyone. I want to welcome everyone once again. I want to welcome Annapurna ma'am again for being a panelist today. Today we are going to be talking about social anxiety disorder. And this is one of the topics that was on our list for quite a long time. One of the viewers had requested this topic to be there on the webinar. So today we're going to be talking about that. I want to tell everyone that these webinars, these awareness sessions are brought to you by Positivity. Positivity is a mental health platform, online mental health platform that connects clients to therapists and psychologists across the world. So in case you're having any issues or your child is having any issues based on your emotions or maybe different life stages, you just started your career or you just got married, or there are various illnesses that you're facing, somebody you love is facing some problems, you can connect to the therapist that you might find helpful. On our platform we have a variety of therapists on our platform, and you can access any one of those. It's very simple to use. The calendar is very simple to use. You can book your sessions and take the appointments. You can see the various profiles of the therapists on the uh, website. Apart from that, we are a Singapore based mental health firm, and we're striving to bring mental health to the common man. We want that mental health should be accessible to each and everyone very easily, because it's something that we really care about. I think mental health is now gaining more and more traction as we are becoming more aware, the society is becoming more aware. Apart from that, today we are going to talk about SAD, that is social anxiety disorder. I want to welcome Miss Annapurna Thapa, who is currently already working as a psychologist. She has been a panelist on our webinar several times now, and people really like her insights. So we are having here today as our panelist. I would like her to give a few words of introduction about, tell us all about herself. So, ma'am, I would need you to talk about you.
Thank you so much, Deepti. Hi, everyone. I'm Annapurna. I'm a counseling psychologist, psychotherapist, and a graphologist. And I've been to several webinars here in Positivity. And I'm really glad and excited to be speaking about social anxiety disorder today, which when we put the title disorder, it feels like, it's very rare or something, but it's actually something that has affected many of us, probably someone very close to you as well, if when you will know more about this. So whether you are you find it difficult to engage on a phone call or order something from the restaurant, or is there's always a fear of judgment within you, then I think this webinar is going to be very helpful for you. So I'm looking forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your introduction, ma'am. Before we begin, I'm just going to give a few housekeeping tips to everyone who's here with us. In case you want to ask any questions, you can use raise the hand feature. Raise the hand feature is right there on your screen. Apart from that, if you want to ask any questions directly, you can send those questions in the chat box and I'll read it out loud for the psychologist to answer. This session is going to be recorded, so kindly make sure that you know completely that this is a recorded session and it is going to be available on our resources soon. In case you are having any doubts, we can take up your questions even in the next session. So kindly make sure that you share your suggestions and questions to us nonetheless. And I think that's all. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the session with us. So, while we are talking about SAD, ma'am, I want to know what is the common, like the word anxiety, anxiousness. These are very commonly used words now. So I
Yeah.
want to know what it basically means to be anxious, because a lot of people confuse this term with a lot of other trivial things. So what does it mean in psychological terms to be anxious?
Okay. So I think what most people cannot differentiate between is anxiety and situational nervousness that most of us feel in our everyday lives. So when we're talking about simple nervousness, it could be anything like, the the nervousness we feel before a job interview or before an exam, where after the exam is over, after the interview is done and dusted, we feel very fresh, like it's gone. However, when we talk about anxiety or anxiety disorder, it's even more serious, because you do not feel like showing up. There would be behavioral things you would do, like unknowingly you would feel like you would not want to go to the interview, you would not want to appear for the exam. You'll feel bodily sensations inside. You might feel nausea, you might feel upset stomach, you might need to run to the bathroom several times. You might have those feelings that we talk about, like feeling those butterflies in your stomach, but it's actually your anxiety increasing. You might have thoughts like, uh, people are going to judge me, I will spoil it, it's not going to be enough, I'm going to spoil it. These kind of physical, cognitive, and symptoms together, it will pressure you. And it's even more serious, why than a normal nervousness that most of us face, because um, also there'll be physical symptoms like sweating, rapid heartbeat, and trembling, shaking. You might want to feel, you'll feel like puking, you might feel like crazy sounds coming out from your ears. The difference between nervousness and anxiety here is that even if you are nervous, you'll do it. Okay. Or even if you're not able to do it, so it's not to the extent that it's disturbing your day-to-day life. However, when we are saying somebody is suffering from anxiety disorder or anxiety, that person is not able to function well in his day-to-day life. Even after, they will think about the situation way before that the thing is there. So way before going to a restaurant, they'll think about it, if they should go to the restaurant, if they should order, or rather be hungry. Okay. Or
Okay.
even after they ordered, okay, kuch bhi karke they have ordered, something, and then they will think, okay, I did a mistake, I think I have been judged by the server there, maybe the people that were there around me are making fun of me. So that will again make them panicky, guilty. So these kind of things, they will it sometimes gets so serious that people usually think that for days, even after the situation has occurred. So that becomes so triggering that for the next situation they would rather not go. They would hate receiving phone calls. um, they would rather miss the job opportunity, they would rather miss the appointment, if they would rather stay hungry than go and talk to somebody. Now when we say somebody, like that, we all have a fear of that small fear, like let's say a nervousness, or um, not disorder, but a little bit of anxiety, where we talk about, when we are talking someone for the first time, let's say a job interviewer, or a stranger. But then that is okay. Once we are, we have shared our initials, and then everything is going fine. It's our body is calm, and we become used to the situation. However, a person who is suffering from anxiety disorder, especially a social anxiety disorder, this person would get is very unstable. Firstly, they would not go and talk to the person, but even if somebody comes and talk to them, they'd feel like running away. They would feel like sometimes they just live in shock. They're physically present there, but mentally they are numb. They go blank. Words do not come. Abhi dekho, there are some thoughts that are coming in our mind. Even if you are listening to me, I am talking, there are thoughts running in my head. So for a person who's going through the anxiety situation, um, they'll be numb. There will be no thoughts coming in his mind. It'll be a blank slate. They would go
Okay.
blank. They have no, the physical body would just be stiff. They don't know if they should walk this side, walk that side. They would be just, and
Frozen.
that is what it happens. Sometimes they are not even able to hear you. Okay, I think
Def-
you have seen it in most movies. They're not able to hear you also. There sometimes, patients have complained about a buzzing sound in, like, in the ear, because they're not able to hear. They just see people open and close their mouth, but the words, they cannot hear it because their body is stiff. The
Hmm.
nervous system is not allowing any kind of stimuli to get inside.
Okay.
That's what happened when it is an anxiety disorder. So the normal level of anxiousness, or the normal level of nervousness, the situational environment, for before a big day, before your wedding, or before your job interview, before a let's say a presentation, everybody gets a little bit of that thing inside your body, that is completely normal. And that, I think, it's also something called as eustress, because that is actually helping you to do better in your performance. However, when it comes to anxiety, it becomes serious because it's a mental illness.
Hmm.
So that was the clear definition and differentiation between what is an anxiety disorder, especially a social anxiety disorder. Social because it relates to social settings. Okay, anxiety, there's a lot of different kind of anxiety disorder. We call it social anxiety because, it relates to, fear of being in social environment. Either you're talking to a stranger, people in social anxiety disorder, they are not even able to talk freely to the people they know, either their relatives, their peers, or even the person they have known for a lot many years. So that is the difference between anxiety and a normal level of
Hmm.
thing that we face.
When it comes to nervousness, I think that it can also be termed as a bit of excitement mixed with anticipation.
Right.
तो in that case, आपको excitement भी है, perform करना है, लेकिन थोड़ा सा डर है, but
Mm,
उससे आप action करने से नहीं डरेंगे.
right.
लेकिन अगर आपको anxiety है, तो आप उस काम को ही avoid करने की कोशिश कर सकते हैं.
Right. It becomes automatic. It's like the behavior is like you would not feel like getting up from your bed,
Okay.
going there, talking. Even the thought would make you all sweaty.
And
Even if in a cold winter night, you'll feel
hmm,
sweaty because of the thought.
hmm,
Ki, what if this happens, that happens? It's basically people are going to judge me. It's fear of judgment from people, actually. That is one main reason why social anxiety actually happens. Earlier, it was known as social phobia before DSM-5, but then after DSM-5, Diagnostic Statistical Manual. So after that, they have come to a point that it is social anxiety disorder.
I see. So, ma'am, in that context, like we already understood what anxiety means now, and we understand that when it comes in the social context, when people fear judgment from other people,
Hmm.
that anxiety is termed as social anxiety. I want to understand what kind of circumstances or situations give rise to such loops or circuits in the brain that such an extreme reaction is born from those
Hmm.
circuits. So, like you clearly understood my question. I'm pretty sure that
Yes, yes, yes,
where
yes.
this forms up. Is it
Huh.
a genetic component? I also want to know whether it is actually genetic. So,
So, but there have been going on research if it is genetic, because there are cases where, if someone in the family has have had, this SAD before, so there are chances that, the descendants or the next generation of people would have, you know,
hmm,
SAD. But however, there is no solid proof. अभी इस उस पे काम चल रहा है. There are researches still going on if it is completely a genetic factor. But other
hmm,
than that, there's other situations which can actually trigger your social anxiety disorder. First thing, if you have seen, this starts from adolescence, mostly during your teenage year, where teenage is a age where the egocentrism is very high. So the
hmm,
person would be like, all attention is on me, the focus is on me. Um, Everything is because of me. I think we've all been through that stage. It was very silly, but we have all been there. We see teenagers every now and then. So it's very usual and very common during adolescence, but it also can happen during early childhood. So it's not necessarily always adolescence, but generally, mostly it's adolescence, but also during childhood. So what happens if you've seen, behavioral traits, sometime temperament, some children are generally very shy.
hmm,
Now,
okay.
shyness is not anxiety, but when someone is shy and you're not able to, while in the childhood, they're not able to come out of their shyness,
Hmm,
that could, not always, but that could, turn into social anxiety disorder.
hmm,
So when once he reaches to adolescence, uh, so it is a responsibility of the teachers, the parents, and the caregivers for the child to remove his shyness or to encourage him
hmm,
to you know f- speak up and not be shy. And that can also add up while in school if somebody bullies them. That is mostly happens. Now, bullying does not necessarily mean bullying from classmates. Sometimes bullying comes from teacher as well as other, even parents. Like there is always this comparative state parents bring up in most states, where people are like, nee, this other's kid is, flourishing in, even if they're in first standard, you are someone who don't even know to tie your shoelace. So this person who's already a very shy kid and now is having this kind of thought, so naturally, they would feel like, oh, I don't know how to tie shoelace, I might get judged. So it starts with a very common, very small incident, and later it just it gets multiplied. So and another thing is, teachers sometimes, when they see that the child is very shy, rather than being very negative towards them, rather than being too, sometimes very scolding them or stuff like that, rather encourage them, encourage the other classmates that this XYZ is a little bit shy, let's all help him to, speak up, or just forget about his shyness. So that is something that teachers or the parents should be encouraging, not something that because you are shy, it's very that don't need to make him feel like an idiot or a stupid person. So that is something that is very important. Other than that, shyness, some people are born with these personality traits. If you have seen, some people are born with very negative criticism towards themselves. Okay, some people, I think we have seen in even movies like happy-go-lucky people who are very happy, very bubbly, like Geet from Jab We Met. But other kind of people are very negative towards themselves, so they would always think that I'm not enough, either by their physical appearance. It starts generally, maybe, somebody in countries like India, where, being a dark skinned person sometimes is mocked in the family. Like, your cousins are so fair. How come you are so dark? So that it starts from there. And then you go to school and everybody, you see your friends are not maybe shade lighter than you, but you are not. So it comes from there. And then there is always a negative thing because they are influenced. It's not necessary that being dark skinned can lead to negative thinking or criticism for themselves, but sometimes these personality traits people can catch up, even in very young people. So at this stage, they would be always talking negative. So I will never succeed before. So these kind of traits can lead up to social anxiety disorder because they will have very low self-esteem. Another reason for social anxiety disorder is that these people have very low self-esteem, and that is a reason why they fear that, when I go talk to someone, I might just spoil it. I might just, speak something very wrong in front of others. I might just speak something that does not match the vibe. And these days, there's also, when you're in adolescence, there's this thing that, we some group of people are naturally very cool. These are the words that people have used. Naturally they are, either they have, they're the fast bloomers, so early bloomers, so they bloom. And some, either even they are going through puberty, and the others are probably they have changed, they have their voice have changed already, their skin has glowing, and the other person, might feel like, oh, I'm still, I'm not even a child. I'm not even an adolescent. What am I? Like, I'm not growing. What happened? So my height is not increasing. I have acne all over my face. I feel like I'm not enough. I have not been able to talk to anyone from the opposite gender. So this kind of things um, occurs, and there's low self-esteem, and that starts, as a threshold for social anxiety disorder. And when leave untreated, when leave uh, not shared, then it turns to be a social anxiety disorder, becoming even more serious. Difficulty in day-to-day life, difficulty in, let's say, surviving, because this person would rather stay hungry, starve themselves, than go just order something.
Yes.
Okay, these kind of people hate, these are people I've met. They are so kind people, so good, but then there's this lack of self-esteem. They fear, to pay. They would rather, like, okay, they know what to eat, what they would like to eat. So please help me, you order for me. Or just buy one. I've met people in, when I was even young. At that time, I didn't know about these, but they would rather, when everybody is eating, ice cream, or after school, those things, ice cream, or like those chatpata things that we all ate then. And these friends of mine, she would rather sit idle. They would not, you know and they want to eat, but they don't. Then they would then I ask her that if you would like to eat, and she's like, I want to, I have money, but I can't buy.
Okay.
The thought of, then I was like, okay, come with me. Then they would not talk. She would just stand with me. I buy for her, then she'll enjoy. But then when I grew up and I knew that after studying psychology, that this is actually a disorder, and this is even more serious than what it felt like. Then I understood that um, it's a very serious thing if not being treated. If somebody did not support you, or did not hold your hand at that time when it was very much needed, it could lead to something very serious.
So, ma'am, we understood that social anxiety disorder can have a genetic component, although it is under study. We
Right.
understand that people who might have been bullied or who were given very sharp criticism when they were growing up, they might develop these tendencies. Or there are people who might already have self-critical tendencies. They might have very low self-esteem that can cause SAD. So we understood the reasons or the most common behavioral patterns or the circuits that can lead to social anxiety disorder. Now, I want to understand how it plays out in day to day life, because even when we see people behaving this way, I have literally seen people avoid very important things in their life just because they are afraid to show up. I have seen that
Yes.
happen myself. And at that point, I was not aware that this is something related to a disorder.
Hmm.
Obviously, I thought that she's just nervous. She's just scared of failing. But I could
Hmm.
literally see that she had a high pulse rate. I could
Hmm.
see that it was a very important exam, but she was not ready to leave her room. And
Hmm.
repeatedly, now we have, as Indians, we have this tendency to avoid these conversations that this might be a problem. But it was a problem. I could see that the fear, that level of fear that she's avoiding an important exam that she had been preparing for, this doesn't seem normal to me. So, what are the other ways that social anxiety plays up and it shows up in our surroundings? That somebody behaving in this circumstance, this situation, this might be social anxiety because people are unaware around us, most of us.
Hmm. So, most common symptoms are those where you will see that people are avoiding big things. They would not show up even if you tell them a lot many times, even if you try to prepare them mentally, but they would not show up because they cannot. They just cannot. And i- when if you're not, you'll not be able to tell them directly if this person is having social anxiety with just one example, because sometimes they're pretty nervous. But these are the most symptoms, like they'll avoid, or they'll feel like, you'll see them going to the toilet many times, here
Okay.
and there, here and then, and then they'll be sweating like, and they'll repeatedly tell you that, maybe I'll not be able to do it. I'll not do it. I'll just run. I feel like running away from here. So you'll have to catch these things up. So when people tell you things like this, could be your friend, could be your relative, or anyone you care for, rather than saying that just try to be normal, or just forget about it, just be brave. So it doesn't work like that. This person, trust me, he's putting a lot of effort to be brave, but this is a disease, this is an illness, you just cannot snap out of it. So I have seen many people, parents especially, tell their kids like, he's firstly, they do not understand the difference between the disorder and the shyness, and they will like, I tell them, to just snap out of it. It's not like, you cannot just snap out of it, just like you cannot just snap out of any illness, not even fever, in one day. Similarly, even SAD, you will not be able to snap out of it. Or you'll see these people, they are very nervous. So go to them and ask, is it, will you be able to do it, or how are you feeling, what kind of situation you're feeling. If you are seeing someone, it's better to ask. Sometimes if this person is only feeling, mild nervousness, because of the situation. They'll be like, I'm feeling a little nervousness, but let's do this. If you pump them up, they'll forget about it, because this is like, when I'm talking about normal people, when they're not suffering from any illness, you a little bit give them a little bit of motivation pump up, and they'll be like going strong. Huh.
Mm.
But other people, if you read essays to them, motivational essays, quotes, they would never listen to you, because they just simply can't. They're stuck in there, and they want to. Nobody else more than them wants to feel better, but
Mm.
they just can't. Okay,
Mm.
and now if you suggest them to go to therapy, even that will take a lot of time, because going to a therapist is also a huge deal for them. Taking an
Yes.
appointment,
Mm.
physical appointments are terrifying. Could be online appointment, they would miss. I have myself seen people, once they have shared something, they came to the first appointment, and then they've shared their details, something very personal. The second day, even after they have done all the payments and stuff, they are worried. They would rather come up with new excuses. So they're very good in texting, if not in call. So they're
Mm.
very good in texting sometimes. So they would just tell new excuses until they feel better.
All
So
right.
then they would come up. So these things happen. They would rather pay money. They have
Mm.
no issue,
Mm.
but they would not appear. They just cannot. So
Mm.
it happens in the initial stages of therapy also. That's why I think in these kind of illnesses, there you'll have to have medicines also. There are some kind of pharmaceutical medicines, obviously prescribed by a psychiatrist. Only then, when you are a little bit calmer, your hormones are a little calm, especially your serotonin, then you can go up. Now, one
Mm.
interesting thing about people in SADR,
Mm.
um, because like we said, people lacks the energy, or they are fearing to go and speak up for
Mm.
themselves in public or in social settings.
Mm.
Naturally, they lack social support. They don't have friends. They don't have friends now. They might have one or two, but then they still have
All
this fear or the judgment. They're always thinking that people are looking at me, they're judging at me. They think that they are that their thought process is like that I'm the center of the world, and all these people are only thinking about me. They're being judged, what I'm wearing, how I'm walking, what I'm ordering and stuff. So in this case, they definitely lose a lot of friends. Even if there are friendship coming up from the other side, these people would rather avoid it.
Mm.
So now, we as human beings, we are social animals, like we all know. So
Yes.
when we are losing social support, automatically we fall into other kind of disorders. So social anxiety disorders could lead to other disorders. Number one is major depressive disorder.
Mm.
Number two is substance abuse disorder.
Mm.
So um, major depressive disorder, generally because there is no social support.
Mm.
Whatever you are feeling, you're just keeping it for yourselves. Very common. Most of the people who are suffering from social anxiety disorder can lead to major depressive disorder. Other
Mm.
than this is substance abuse. That is also very common, because they feel like the substance is the only, whenever they are taking consuming some substance, only then they are pumped up. What
Mm.
we call in like little high. Only
Mm.
then they can do their daily conversations.
Mm.
So either it be alcohol, or be any kind of drugs, or even mostly drugs, cannabis and
Mm.
alcohol. So it happens. You see people who are generally reserved, which we, like in layman word, we call reserved, very shy. These people would open up when they are drinking. So just think about people who are anxious.
Mm.
Okay, I think we have seen in our family, there's one person in in our family, there's always one person, especially he's the son-in-law, like a relative or something. This
Mm.
person is generally very quiet, but when in the weddings, he'll have a little bit of drink, and he's the most open person you'll ever see. He's the
Mm.
most extroverted individual. He'll dance, he'll talk, but the next day he's is again shy. So I'm not talking this person has anxiety disorder. I'm just giving you an example. This person is generally shy. Then imagine a person who is having social anxiety disorder, and this person knows that whenever to talk up, to speak up to the maybe the person of the opposite gender who he's into or she is interested into, they'll have to drink a little bit. So starting from that, it goes into substance abuse disorder. So it's very common
Mm.
that a person suffering from social anxiety disorder can also have major depressive disorder as well as substance abuse disorder. Now, another important thing about social anxiety disorder is that it also can happen, which was your previous question, because of over strict parents in
They-
childhood.
Okay.
Yes, very strict parents. Uh, Parents would not allow them to do something, or even if they are not, they are scared of talking up like what they have done. So even having very strict parents during childhood can lead to SAD. And SAD, people, because of their anxiety, they avoid going to, they quit school after a certain point of time, would not find the right, what do you call, energy to go for job interviews. Definitely they'll avoid that.
Hmm.
Most of them don't even marry, because that is again another social setting. You will feel talking to the opposite gender is another hectic thing for them. So it is very common yet very deep rooted, and some people mostly are into the mild side of social anxiety, um but which needs to be definitely talked over. But one more important thing is that in countries like India, people mostly are generally in mild side, because SAD is more prevalent in developed countries, okay,
Okay.
rather than developing countries. So in developed countries, it's more common, it's seen more, because in developing countries, um, the rate is still low, but the females have a higher rate of having social anxiety disorder. One reason why, I mean, it's still ongoing study, but one reason why is because, females generally could have been traumatized during childhood or during adolescence, could be verbal abuse, physical assault. Some people, when, let's say a female was molested,
Hmm.
during adolescence, so this person, or during childhood, so naturally this woman would grow up into fear of the opposite gender, and very difficulty trusting people, so it would lead to social anxiety disorder. But the one thing is that in developed countries it's even more severe than in
Hmm.
countries like India, which are, which is developing country.
Then I think, ma'am, the reason that it is much more prevalent in developed nations would be that people are much more isolated in those countries. Still, like
Right.
India is a developing country, people still have
Hmm.
a sense of community, at least
Hmm.
in the suburban and rural areas, if not in urban cities. But when it comes to developed nations, people already have their own resources, their own lives. They don't need to depend on anybody. In
Hmm.
that case, there is a higher probability that they just don't interact with people for so long that it becomes a natural state of how it is.
Hmm.
And then maybe it translates into this fear of, being perceived,
Judgment.
yeah,
Hmm.
being perceived in a way that is not all right by
Right.
other people. So, my next question to you would be, we understood the reasons of how social anxiety disorder can develop during childhood or adolescence, and we understood the various ways that it can show up. It can
Hmm.
lead to a person missing an important exam or a job opportunity, or they might just avoid ordering food and whatnot. Like so many different contexts that they would avoid situations. Obviously, it is affecting so much. They are avoiding self expression in a way because of a thought that they will be judged. Now, I want to know, my next question here would be commonly how commonly do people reach out for help, specifically for social anxiety disorder? Because mostly people are aware about depression. They might be aware about, having some sort of substance abuse. They might be abusing alcohol or, tranquilizers in case they are on anxiety medications, or they might be having marijuana or cannabis, some sort of addiction. People do seek help when it comes to depression, or maybe even substance abuse. Do people come to you specifically for anxiety disorders in India?
uh if there is, see, So anxiety disorders, when you say if there are like anxiety like claustrophobia or agoraphobia, where you have anxiety for closed space, you have anxiety for specific animals, or let's say spiders or stuff like that. That is very common. People would walk up to you, seek therapy, seek online therapy, seek offline therapy, would go for medical practitioners. But people having social anxiety, now that is the trigger.
Hmm.
Going to a person who is another in a social environment, talking to strangers. Now the
Hmm.
therapist or the doctor itself is a stranger for the person, that they might research a lot about treatment. So it is not generally seen keep person would come up by themselves and tell that I have social anxiety, because that would again make them nervous and they would rather avoid the situation of entire talking and stuff. But it's, I think, now that online facility, online therapy is available, people are getting a little bit comforted, even if not very much, so that now they can, in just email they can book, or via message they can book, and they could start like that. Or if there is any trusted friend, or let's say a family member, even if one person is relied to, if they can catch up that okay, this is not normal, what symptoms this person is showing is definitely not slight situational anxiety or nervousness, but rather a disorder, then they can actually contact support.
Hmm.
There's also national toll-free number available. So this kind of they can contact, and then whatever the doctor or the therapist would recommend they can do, or can take the person, if like anyhow, if the person suffering does have a little comfort in the other person, they can take them to the practitioner. So that is another reason. But mostly it's very rare that you will see a person walking directly to your office saying that he would
Right.
need counseling or he would need therapy or medications because he's suffering from social anxiety disorder. That is very rare. It's
Hmm.
generally the family members,
Hmm.
or these days, okay, through online therapy, people rather they would like switch off the camera for the first session or so. It's slowly it builds up, so that happens. um so earlier it was very it was very rare, but now because of online therapy, I think that is a little bit benefit key. From the comfort of their home they can talk, but it's
Hmm.
very rare, still very rare, I would say, a person directly coming to them say I have social anxiety. Accepting that in
Hmm.
social media is again very common, because there you will see a lot many people, and but accepting that I have social anxiety disorder in social media, because I think even if you upload this in YouTube, you upload this in Instagram, there'll be a lot of comments saying, hey, I have this, I think I have this, even if they do or not. I mean, without a proper diagnosis, that's not possible. So, talking there takes a lot of, do not take a lot of guts, but
Hmm.
actually seeking help,
Hmm.
seeking support, that is again like breaking the eggshell. It's quite
Hmm.
huge responsibility.
I see. So that was a very elaborate answer, ma'am. Thank you. I have a situational context even here. Like you must have, like you just told me about it. People going to marriages,
Hmm.
weddings, having alcohol, and then becoming a whole different person, being very social. This is
Huh.
a very common practice, especially amongst people that I've seen who are working class people. After
Hmm.
they're done with their work at the weekends, they drink and they become something else to let go, to be free. So this is not a natural state that they have. They turn into that person once they are drunk. I think that there is some loop over here and it might have some relevance to SAD. So I want your insights over this context.
Okay. So so there could be, we cannot say anything without diagnosis, but there could be mild to moderate level of SAD in those people, who would become a completely different person, a complete extrovert individual after a peg or two. But
Hmm.
so we cannot say anything without proper diagnosis, but that happens. We see it. It can also happen to people who are very introverted. Even they, I mean, generally introverted, not suffering from any disease. Introvert is a personality so type. So that is okay. Like being introvert. So being introvert, and they can open up in huge gatherings. So the thing is, even this person, this working man, if they have social anxiety, then they would not be able to work first class, first thing. So they'll have difficulty working. And if we are talking about middle class people, most of them are in a work where they need to converse with the other person. So in that case, um, this person definitely should not have social anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder could be basic shyness, basic introverted nature. But if this person is if they have a mild anxiety issue, because I had met a guy back, I think 1 or 2 years ago. He was freshly out from his college, was seeking for a job, but was looking for job which did not have to, talk to customers or, talk directly to people. But then he got a good job in a Reliance company where the salary was good for starting. But the only issue is that he had to go to people and talk. So
Okay.
he was almost about to quit, but he saw that his family is struggling and they need money. And so he said yes. So even though he was not technically diagnosed with social anxiety, but since I knew him personally and I always felt he never would talk to anybody or very shy. And when he was about to, talk to he would always shake, and that shivering moment, you can actually see this person is shivering, blubbering things. He was if they are supposed to talk a few things on maybe, so this was basically an agriculture related job. So while talking about different crops, he would go up and say something else. He would make blunders, but and then he would regret, oh shit, like for many days, for many weeks, he would say that, oh, when I did this, I did that. But eventually, what happened was, like, because he had to go dhire dhire karke, he overcame it, even if with proper treatment. So that is another type of treatment actually, where it is called as exposure therapy, in therapy, where you give little exposure. So could have been that happened, this person was having. But the same guy, in the weekend, like you said, when he drank a little bit with his friends, is very free. He would then is able to talk to his boss over phone call, saying that, I he did not drink a lot, maybe a beer or just a pack of, like a regular weekend drink. But he's able to give his report, or the weekly reports or anything. So that pumped him up. And I was like, okay, fine. If this is like, but another issue was, again, I remember explaining to guy what you are. So I did not tell him, obviously, because I was not able to diagnose him. And I told him that just try without alcohol, because we don't want you to be dependent on alcohol. What if
Yeah.
this leads into a different way? I can tell you, today he is working another job. So from that Reliance company job, he went into a government job now he deals with a lot of people without drinking, and so he's in a better state. So he does like a casual drinker in parties, but thank God he has not been an abuser or a addict. So he's able to, I think it's more about exposure that happened to him. So similarly to those uncles, they just got pumped up, I feel. But a proper diagnosis is really needed. I mean, obviously symptoms visible, yes, but फिर भी I think a trained professional would rather help in diagnosis.
I see. I understand. So this is one of the ways that this can be visible. This can be one of the symptoms. People taking up alcohol and then becoming a whole different person. This can be a sign, but it's not sure shot. I understand. My last question when it comes to SAD would be, ma'am, that of course we have seen there are various reasons that one can have SAD. I have found low self-esteem to be a cause of a lot of different disorders as well. We have discussed depression, we have discussed substance abuse. Low self-esteem turns out to be a cause for SAD as well. So I want you to shed a little bit of light on what really, how big of a damage can low self-esteem cause, apart from anxiety and depression and whatnot? What all different, what kind of different problems it can cause, not even just as disorders, but even in personality, and how that can show up, how that can be visible to us?
So yes, you're very right. Low self-esteem can lead to a number of problem in their professional life, in their personal life. Apart from disorders like anxiety, depression, or substance abuse, low self-esteem will have difficulty in showing up the person's fullest potential, because they have low self-esteem. They would never, even if they would never even think about doing something, even if they have a very bright idea, that can really work up for
Hmm.
his own benefit. They'll
Hmm.
not have the courage to go and talk to their supervisor saying, I have this idea, I think just check it out if this should work.
Hmm.
Or they would just sit, and in front of them opportunities will pass and they'll sit. Now low self esteem again would lead to inferiority complex. Why? Because they would feel inferior. Because I do not have enough self esteem, I am inferior than my colleagues, than my workers, than my classmates or peers. So that is very common, that happens. So low self esteem, that is the reason why most of counseling clients are someone who would seek to improve their confidence level. Now, being confident is so essential in today's world, with good self esteem, that without that, you'll not be able to survive. So, I
Hmm.
have had most of my clients coming up to me for increasing their self esteem, boosting their self motivation. Because once your self your esteem is high, only then you're able to set goals. Otherwise, a person who has low self esteem, they would not have goals in their life. Because
Hmm.
what to do about those goals which you're never going to
Be able
compete
to.
for even? Huh? Reaching
Hmm.
them is a whole different story. Just fight for it, going to that level, to that position. So a lot many people come for increasing their self esteem, and I think it is a very beneficial thing. Many people should go, and because self esteem is such a thing that it's not always constant. Sometimes even I feel very low self esteem. Sometimes anybody can feel low self esteem. But if you're feeling like for a very long time, you're feeling that there's very low self esteem, it's better to talk to someone, take a session or two. You'll be pumped up. You'll be, the therapist will be showing you a lot of positive psychotherapy, works where you'll be your self-esteem will be increased, and increase of self-esteem can eventually lead to good things in life, either be your professional life, your personal life. You'll have a good relationship with your partner, you'll have a good relationship with your family, your parents, your children, your siblings. So it is very, very essential, because without that, a lot many things, like I said, you might have failure in your career as well because of low self-esteem, and eventually that will again lead to other kind of disorders, again sorting to depression, or even I think this is something that I forgot to mention, is because of low self-esteem, people in sad are also more prone to suicidal uh, thoughts. Then they might have suicidal thoughts because obviously they lack support. There is low self-esteem, they might think that worthlessness, feelings of hopelessness,
Hmm.
those can come. So that is again there.
So, ma'am, like I understand low self-esteem obviously causes a lot of problems. I think the basis of having good self-esteem in the Indian context is set wrong. Like mostly people are taught to have self-esteem on things that are not the right parameters to set their self-esteem on. You, as a psychologist, I want you to tell us about what are the right ways, right parameters, and right metrics of having good self-esteem, how to maintain good self-esteem on those areas.
Okay. So, firstly, it's not always materialistic. So
Hmm.
our Indian culture has taught us to be, only have a good self-esteem when you are very materialistically superior. But I think having good self-esteem does not necessarily to be need to be materialistic. It can start from, getting your small things done. If
Hmm.
you're having very low self, if you feel that you do not have a lot of self esteem, start celebrating your small wins. You do not
Hmm.
have to have big wins. Even
Hmm.
small wins, like maybe um able to talk to a long distance friend for after a long time, or you cooked a very
Good meal.
a very yeah, a good meal. Or you could
Hmm.
have watched a YouTube video and you have learned yourself, you taught yourself, and then you cooked it. Celebrate those wins. Buy yourself something, gift somebody, and the smile do not, rather than thinking negatively, that increases self-esteem. So and another is like when you practice journaling, write your thoughts down, and you will see that what are the things you are grateful for, what things you have done good today. These things eventually in the in the weekend you'll see that okay, these are the things I should be proud of. So
Hmm.
then when you're celebrating your small wins, like you, now for example in my case, I giving this I'm talking in this webinar,
Hmm.
um, talking about this, able to explain things, pass
Hmm.
a few things, whatever little knowledge I have. So
Hmm.
saying these things again would make I should be appreciating myself, like okay, I did well, I did great. So this is another how I'm boosting my self esteem. Before others say something to me, it's always myself saying to me. That is how your self esteem is growing. Now one thing is that what people in Indian culture say that अपना मुंह मियाँ बोलते हैं ना, मुंह मियाँ मिट्ठू नहीं होना चाहिए. But
Okay.
मैं बोलती हूँ होना चाहिए in some cases definitely, क्योंकि there's this thing, if I am asking a glass of water from you, and if your jar is empty, how are you going to pour me? So it's very important that you have water on your glass, I mean on your jug first, and then you share it to me. So similarly, you know I need to appreciate myself first, and do not wait for others to appreciate me. If I've done something good, I've done something good, and I am okay with it. So
Hmm.
then you'll not have expectations कि कोई दूसरा बोलेगा तभी I'll be happy.
Okay.
Okay. And then so that is how sometimes you need to be mumia mittu. You can be quietly if not in front of others. So that is how self esteem can increase. Take small steps, baby steps. You do not have to कि आपको यूपीएससी पास करना ही है आपका सेल्फ एस्टीम हाई करने के लिए. आप order your favorite meal, that is cook your favorite meal, that is also something that you should appreciate. Small good little things.
That was an important answer. I think that was important to know, especially that part that, we have to be there for ourselves, appreciate ourselves before somebody else does, because then we don't have to wait for their
Hmm.
approval. That was an important point. I think we are almost at the end of our session, ma'am. So I want to thank you. This was a very insightful session. We discussed SAD in a lot of details. We understood what can cause SAD. We understood how it can manifest in behaviors of different people who might have moderate, mild, or high levels of SAD. I never knew that these people can freeze and paralyze themselves to that
Hmm.
extent that they are just not able to get up. So that is a new point that I got to know. And obviously, like many other mental disorders, low self esteem can also be a cause of causing SAD, and it can happen at any point in life, like adolescence or adulthood, or it might have its roots in childhood. So I hope that everybody who's been with us today got a little bit of awareness from this session, and they got to know how it can show up in behavior and how they can work on their own self-esteem. Of course, you explained everything very comprehensively in a lot of detail with a lot of examples. So thank you so much for taking your time out and
Thank you so much.
helping us out with so many, verified insights about SAD. I want to thank everyone who was here today in this session, and my team at Positivity, who makes it very easy and, possible for me to take up these webinars to do my share of good for everyone who's watching. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, everyone. We will be having another webinar soon in the upcoming week, and I hope to see you all there. And till then, I hope you all take care and you all have a great week ahead. All right. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.